Di malungit since Vice President, Vice Senate, Honorable Mario, Floor Leader House Mar Delegates, Rogol Senator, Makamil, Rogol Martiang, Sauratial. Good afternoon, everybody. As mentioned, my name is Elway, Ikeda, Director of Bureau of Revenue and Taxation, also the Chairman of the Tax Reform Steering Committee. It is my pleasure to take part in this economic symposium to update the audience on where the tax reform work is today and what is to expect it in the coming days, in the coming weeks, and the coming year. Before I give some highlights of the work that we've been doing at the Tax Reform Office, the Bureau of Revenue and Taxation, I'd like to take this opportunity to reflect on how, thanks to the leadership, we're taking a significant step in modernizing our tax system to a transparent one, an equitable one, and one that brings some certainty at the time of great uncertainty. I like to reflect also that the work for tax reform did not begin last year when we introduced, we discussed, and we passed the Palau Goods and Services Tax Act. In fact, it's ongoing work that's been going on for over 20 years. And my minister knows this very well as in the early days. So over 20 years. But we look back on the policies that took the longest time to implement and pass in this great nation. We look to see the very same policies that we're most proud of, the national health insurance, even our political status and our compact with the United States. It took long, but we can say we're proud of those policies. So last economic symposium, we were discussing why we needed tax reform and what it could bring and the potential opportunities. But I have the privilege, and I'm very excited to be here and update on what to expect when the new tax law takes place. I haven't been director for long, but I have worked with the tax office long enough that the only way I know how to talk is to talk to taxpayers. So that's just a fair warning when we do the update. Next slide, please. Before we look at some highlights, and I'll keep it brief, maybe some questions if allowed. But I wanted to share with everyone the principles that guide the Tax Reform Committee and the Bureau of Revenue and Tax under the Ministry of Finance in implementing the new Tax Act. For any change, especially a large one, naturally there's fear of the unknown, and the resistance to move away from the familiar. And that's why these principles are very important to the Tax Reform Committee and the work that the Bureau of Revenue and Tax is doing. First principle is ease and change. Make the change easy. If we don't have to change it, we won't change it until it's necessary. But keeping some familiar forms, keeping familiar process, familiar faces even, but making the change as comfortable and as easy as possible. Second principle, it's really all about the taxpayers. We empower the taxpayers to be confident and to meet their obligations easily, and all the work should be driven to do that. All the reforms, the internal reforms, the policy, the regulatory reform should all have the taxpayers in mind and the public in general. The third one, very important, I wanted to share, is the Bureau of Revenue and Tax and the Ministry of Finance is in a position to help taxpayers comply first and foremost, coming January 1st and beyond, and for the first year especially, which means that the Bureau of Revenue and Taxation will not chase anybody, penalize anybody for honest mistakes. We'll take the first priority and position to help everybody comply, and we'll leave the compliance stuff until you know and until you're familiar with our new tax law. And then the fourth one, sort of the fourth pillar, is continued reform and modernization. I think we say this a lot at the tax reform office, and every chance we get to talk to people, that January 1st is not the end of the reform, but the beginning of a lot of reforms, both in, especially for me, for the Bureau of Revenue and Taxation, to structurally realign it to a modern tax office that really helps taxpayers easily and confidently meet their obligations. Next slide, please. This is a fair warning, I thought. What do you have to do before January 1st? Well, you gotta find out, and we can help you find out, if you need to register for Palau Goods and Services Tax Act. I'll just do a quick reminder. If you're a taxpayer or business having an annual revenue or annual taxable supply of 300,000 or more, you are required by law to register for PGST. Or if you're a holder of a FIAC, Foreign Investment Approval Certificate, you must register for PGST. So if you have to register, if you're required to register, haven't registered today, let us know. We'll help you get registered right away. Second thing you got to keep in mind is get informed and keep up-to-date information. And that includes knowing where to go for information. So the Bureau of Revenue and Taxation Office, obviously we put all the information in the website, palaugov.pw/tax-reform. All the repository of all the information that we've ever given out is in the website. So if you can, please visit the website to keep up-to-date information. And also follow social media pages on Facebook, the Bureau of Revenue and Taxation and the Tax Reform Office. Another thing to keep in mind, especially those who are either required to register for Palau Goods and Services Tax Act, or Palau Goods and Services Tax, or be volunteer, it's a good time now to set up your record keeping. So there's certain requirements on the law to keep proper records, and we've put helpful tips on the website on how to set that up. And then you might want to do as a business to look at your current engagement, your current contracts, terms, and see how you can adjust to apply the correct rates. I'd like to also just a reminder on what happens on 1st of January. Well, those that are registered for PGST will begin charging the 10% PGST on taxable goods and services. There will be, because we removed the import, there will be PGST charged on imports for businesses, and then for personal, up to $400 is exempt. Those that are registered for PGST will also move from the gross revenue tax to a net income tax, which we call a business profits tax. Gorat 11 qadom sar tokol asal sa edel kay sura al qawais dirikal sel ang dirikal murat January iqdo register egel tokora magit as edel register ingaringi sel program lamang ila ministry rahel ngani social assistant payment raw labang lela rakat edel apply so mo eligible komlay. Also, for small businesses that may make annual revenue under $50,000, they will be put on an additional business license fee class, and they will pay an additional license fee of $100 paid in quarterly installments, so $25 per quarter on top of their business license. That's it. No other taxes. Then other revenue measures in the law will also commence. Then we look forward to salary and wage tax reductions. It's going to be reduced, second tier, 10%. Hotel room tax is also reduced to 10%. Import duties, as I mentioned, removed. And then the fuel tax, or the carbon tax as we call it now, went from 5 to 2 cents per gallon. At the end of 2023, also kung maka-other belaw, overall, nga nga rem loader maka-harar salary tax, employer ka withhold salary tax, malu ka harar ngi, earn $15,000 or less. Yeah, in the year 2023, kami apply office, verify kung sel tax problem harar ngi serra ka rogir. Ser rogil tax sa ngul Moscow, ngul other sea. O sisilta min diri kalmin sa dagel assistance na magit. Kadak mong social assistance, akplo la maklat kalosan di kal refund ng social assistance. Tirigel sumot may gara magit to license matanga na di additional business license fee. Hindi kal hara tax at di hara sell business license fee. Sell one total lang 150. Hindi ka daw nga sir kao maka-earn magit, may report. Self-em report, kami maskit self $25 sel cook license fee. Hindi ka report na karangem Michael. Kukum silo ka makatingem. Seng telam silo ka sel quarter. Pagkakuk record na nga. Kung sukal, dili kalki pa record. Hindi sel endrarak. Ka-apply mo na Ministry of Health. Ikadadakta ka gel karangem maserrak. El sukuman dia kalang alak ratro may email tela el yung wala other siya 4% ra revenue kal Moscow. Ulit lo maklat hindi kal refund dim lakal tax la rang the other sin ngul Moscow 4%. Mal sumong 15,600 4%. Igagidil social assistant payments tiya mo ultor vela kumiro pa kama advice in the more other velaw Palawan citizens. At tigagidil nga social assistant payments, adili kal eligible as child raising subsidy. Senator sa kapang sell extra $100 for every child. 18 Mario. Ay ga adili kal warrior Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health, pagka rural makan rural regulation na ngi. Oh, hindi assure rather malbilakatak la alwa sa Ministry of Finance shall help or other magiter mula filer tir mangrang mas priority di ka mal di gi mobile sa kami. So, I say, Ministry of Health, dili kal matmok regulation ngira approval ma application gay. I say ako kurere Ministry of Finance lo dili kal nga sew. Ang kal business license, selvel apply ka na information ngi o say kumagit. Agi dili kal kura so mamlam dengel o say. O mo magit ka pro magit trigger. Agi gida kura kasing egal ang wil doger mo dili kal say dal ko helpel. Hindi kal sal di monitor ng helper gidel ngos tudong lol ng sir adra magit. Oh. So lang malungil point vice ang direct gidel lo sa license hindi kal marka malsum maklat mura astuang intel ara class tuang lo si informal ko sa magit yaklat ligibol mo question alwasay kung ram ko magit nga store ko martya. Oh, hindi lagi do say lagi dala la do mes mo mal solar point. Okay, I just wanted to point out some highlights of the work that has been done mostly this year on the reform. I'm pretty sure we see familiar faces that have attended the previous workshops. We've had numerous workshops, and then we plan and we continue to have workshops well beyond next year. But just some highlights. I think last time we checked, we had a total of 195 different businesses that have attended workshops. Some of the businesses have attended multiple workshops, which is great. And we see the we gauge the understanding on what kind of questions they're asking every time they come. I think we always do head counts, and 573 is a total attendance in our sign-up sheets. Maybe some repeats, but that's kind of the volume of workshops. Including the one virtual, yeah, including. Okay, and then we do, as much as we can, we try to also do one-on-one consultations, because we feel, you don't want to be in the room and discuss all your books in the same. So we do, as much as we can, direct consultations where we can really talk about specific needs and specific questions to businesses. In fact, up to date, we've counted 26. Some of these consultations have included ones with our very own state-owned enterprises who will be participating in the PGST. And then I wanted to highlight that, as I said, we're planning on more workshops and more consultations, and we got the support. And I want to thank everyone, the public, the taxpayers. Thank you for your patience. We're trying to get to you. We're doing our best. We'll be there eventually. Next slide, please. On top of workshops and direct consultations, we're trying to raise awareness through outreach via communications on several different channels. So basically, strategy of the communications is to raise awareness levels, build a community trust and confidence, educate businesses on thresholds, on their relevant thresholds that apply to them, how to register, the interaction between PGST, BPT, or even GRT. And then also communities, through communications, we like to encourage business and the community to share messages. Ay ngarinya oger mal diungil vasul durtin mal kolor kamam man sa adal mal masa information lo spe. We continue to rely on the public to either share the information that is shared to you or divert them to the website or to contact us at the Bureau of Revenue and Tax. Next slide, please. We're just going to skim through some of the channels that we put out communication work on. So there's social media. Next, more social media posts. We're in the process of doing some video productions, so you don't have to wait for workshops. Some information can come to you in your handheld device via YouTube. That's ongoing work. Also radio ads and more social media. Please go to YouTube and find the Bureau of Revenue Tax channel, brt.tv on YouTube. So you can, like I said, there's been some work to refresh the website, continuous update of information to make sure that all the information delivered is available on the website. Next. Next, yeah, just going through it. As much as we can, we go out in public, we take opportunities to get interactions, get people to register on the spot. So some of those work are shown in the pictures. Next slide, please. And then we do some, we get invited to meetings, and I really appreciate that. Get invited to meetings and talk. It's easier on me for the logistics. I just show up and talk, but I really appreciate those meetings that we get invited to for the opportunity to talk about the new tax. Next. And then also radio, TV. Next. And then we keep track of the third-party coverage. Next. Yeah. All right, so before I close, I just wanted to remind everybody, stay informed, keep up to date. When in doubt, call the Bureau of Revenue and Tax Office or the Tax Reform Office. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and most importantly, visit the website periodically to keep up to date. Next slide. But before I close, I wanted to just give thanks and appreciation for the support that we've been getting. Our key international development partners for the ongoing support on tax reforms. Of course, the Asian Development Bank, the Australian government, which has been also instrumental through the Australian Taxation Office, a lot of work. Also, IMF through BIFTAC. And then Pacific Islands Tax Administrators Association, the Republic of China, Taiwan, and even the Bureau of Internal Revenue of the Philippines, some engagements. And we continue to be grateful for the ongoing reforms. I wanted to share the vision for BRT with the reform, that BRT is going to be trusted by the Palau community as an effective and efficient organization known for its excellence in taxation administration. But to achieve this, we continue to rely on the support of the people and our international partners. That would be all. Thank you very much.